Good morning, my friends. It's Miss Mandy, or if you know me from Clara Springs, what am I called? Yeah, Mother Hen, or I'm your Aunt Mandy. And so I am so excited. We've had an amazing week of reading. What have we been reading this week? That's right, Amelia Bedelia. And who was she written by? Peggy Parrish and illustrated by Lynn. That's right. This is a Harper Collins book, and they've given me permission to read this book. And so this is Amelia Bedelia Helps Out. So one of the things that I love about Amelia Bedelia and her character is sometimes she takes, well, maybe not sometimes, all the time, she takes things very literal. How many of us know kids or adults that take things literal? Yeah, we all do. In fact, I know several, and several of the people that I know that take things literal are ones with autism. I have several kids in my family that have autism, and not only that, I, at Clara Springs, get to help do a camp called Camp Rain Man, who they come here and we get to love on these autistic kids of all different parts of the spectrum. And I love communicating with them and learning to communicate with them in a new way. And they do take things very literal. One time, I remember standing in the food line, and we were serving hot dogs that day. And I asked a young man, I was like, hey, do you want chili on your hot dog? And he looked at me very serious. He said, no, ma'am, I want a hot dog. I just want it hot. I don't want it to be chili. And I kind of laughed to myself, and I was like, you know, that makes a lot of sense. Why would you want to make a hot dog chili? And so, you know, my communication with him probably should have been, would you like some hot dog sauce on your hot dog? Or would you like some of, you know, this? Anyways, I think that sometimes we just don't know how to communicate with others, or sometimes we don't interpret things right with others. And so Amelia Bedelia could probably have been helped out so many different ways if people would have communicated with her better. However, in this story, you're going to see a lot of love and a lot of laughter towards Amelia Bedelia, and nothing that'll make fun of her. So again, it's Amelia Bedelia Helps Out by Peggy Parrish, illustrated by Lynn. It says, have a good day, said Mr. Rogers, and you help your aunt, Effie Lou. I will, said Effie Lou. I'll come back for you late this afternoon, said Mr. Rogers, and he drove off. What a grand house, said Effie Lou. Miss Emma is a grand woman, said Amelia Bedelia. She went to the door and knocked. Come in, said Miss Emma. Amelia Bedelia and Effie Lou went inside. I am glad to see you, said Miss Emma. Sumter is sick and my garden is a mess. Don't you fret, said Amelia Bedelia. We will take care of that. Just tell us what to do. First, said Miss Emma, weed the garden. All right, said Amelia Bedelia. Is there anything else? Yes, said Miss Emma, but go ahead and start before the sun gets hot. Come on, Effie Lou, said Amelia Bedelia. Let's get busy. They went to the garden. It does have a lot of weeds, said Effie Lou. She started to pull one. Stop, said Amelia Bedelia. What are you doing? Trying to get the weeds out of the garden, said Effie Lou. Get them out, said Amelia Bedelia. She said to weed the garden, not unweed it. Oh, said Effie Lou. I wonder why she wants more weeds. Amelia Bedelia thought, those weeds are little, she said. Maybe vegetables get hot just like people. They need big weeds to shade them. That's why Miss Emma told us to weed before the sun gets hot. Well, that makes sense, said Effie Lou. I see some really big weeds. Let's get them, said Amelia Bedelia. They did. Soon that garden was weeded. Amelia Bedelia and Effie Lou went back to the house. The garden is weeded, said Amelia Bedelia. Good, said Miss Emma. Now I want you to stake the beans. Here is the string to tie them on. You can use this saw to cut the stakes. All right, said Amelia Bedelia. There are bugs on the potato plants. Take this bug powder and dust them, said Miss Emma. If you say so, said Amelia Bedelia. The telephone rang. Miss Emma went to answer it. Amelia Bedelia found all the things she needed. She and Effie Lou went back to the garden. All right, said Amelia Bedelia, we will stake the beans first. Have you ever done that? Said Effie Lou. No, said Amelia Bedelia, but she just said to stake them. Anybody can do that. Can I help? Said Effie Lou. Yes, said Amelia Bedelia. You can count the bean plants. Effie Lou counted and said, there are 15. What do you think they're going to do? Amelia Bedelia unwrapped a package. She took her head and said, that's a mighty little bit of steak for 15 beans. But it was all she had. Probably not the steak that they intended. She took the saw and cut the steak into 15 pieces. It's probably not what Miss Emma meant, right? I could have cut better with a knife, Amelia Bedelia said. Why didn't you use one? Said Effie Lou. Didn't Miss Emma say to use this saw? Said Amelia Bedelia. Yes, said Effie Lou. Then that's why, said Amelia Bedelia. Now hold the steak while I tie it. Amelia Bedelia and Effie Lou staked those beans. So that kind of steak is S-T-E-A-K. And the type that Miss Emma was saying was S-T-A-K-E. So there's a difference. All right, beans, said Amelia Bedelia. Enjoy your steak. Effie Lou laughed. So the difference is definitely the spelling, but also the meaning, right? The E-A-K is steak you eat. The A-K-E is a steak like a piece of wood. Your work is fun, she said. That it is, said Amelia Bedelia. Now those bugs are waiting to be dusted. How do we do that? Said Effie Lou. What is that she has in her hand? I'll catch, you dust, said Amelia Bedelia. Here, bug. Here, buggy, buggy, bug. They caught and dusted every bug. Why did she want us to do that? Said Effie Lou. Most people want bugs killed, but Miss Emma is not like most people, said Amelia Bedelia. Those bugs may be her pets. They are pretty little things, if you like bugs, said Effie Lou. That takes care of that, said Amelia Bedelia. Let's go in. I made lunch for you, called Miss Emma. After you eat, throw some scraps to the chickens. All right, said Amelia Bedelia. And Amelia Bedelia, said Miss Emma, my garden club is meeting here this afternoon. Please make a tea cake. I'll be glad to, said Amelia Bedelia. I do love to bake. And we do know that, right? In our other stories. Amelia Bedelia and Effie Lou ate their lunch. I wonder where she keeps her scraps, said Amelia Bedelia. I'll ask her. She went to Miss Emma's room. She came right back. We will have to look for them, said Amelia Bedelia. She's asleep. They looked and looked. Here's a whole bag of scraps, said Effie Lou. Good, said Amelia Bedelia. Take some and we'll throw them to the chickens. Then they went out to the chicken pen. Effie Lou threw the scraps. The chickens came running. Look at that, said Amelia Bedelia. I never knew chickens liked to play. Aren't they funny, said Effie Lou. They sure are, said Amelia Bedelia. But I've got that tea cake to make. What kind of scraps did they throw? That's scraps of fabric. What did Miss Emma probably mean? Yeah, scraps of food. I never heard of tea cake, said Effie Lou. Neither have I, said Amelia Bedelia. Then how can you make one, said Effie Lou. Well, said Amelia Bedelia, I know what tea is, and I know what cake is. I'll put them together, and I'll have tea cake. That's easy, said Effie Lou. Amelia Bedelia got a mixing bowl. She put a little bit of this and some of that into it. She mixed and she mixed. Now for the tea, she said. Amelia Bedelia opened some tea bags and mixed the tea into the batter. It looks awful, said Effie Lou. Different folks have different tastes, said Amelia Bedelia. She poured the batter into the pan. Soon that cake was baking. Amelia Bedelia began to mix another cake. "What kind of cake are you making now?" said Effie Lou. "Nut cake," said Amelia Bedelia. "Miss Emma loves that." Finally, the cakes were baked. "Are you going to put icing on them?" said Effie Lou. "That's a good idea," said Amelia Bedelia. "It'll fancy them up." She mixed white icing and pink icing. "You ice the tea cake pink," she said, "and I'll ice the nut cake white." They finished the cakes and put them away. Miss Emma came into the kitchen. "The cake is ready," said Amelia Bedelia. "Oh, it smells so good," said Miss Emma. "There's one more thing I want you to do. There is a bare spot in my front lawn. Please sow these grass seeds on it." "We will be glad to," said Amelia Bedelia. "Come on, Effie Lou." They went out front. So, the sow, S-O-W. Remember that. "That spot is bare," said Effie Lou. "It sure is," said Amelia Bedelia. She sat down and took 2 needles and some thread from her bag. She threaded the needles. "Here is yours," she said. "Now let's sew." You see that word? Sounds the same, but different meanings. Amelia Bedelia and Effie Lou sewed those grass seeds on the bare spot. "Tie the ends together," said Amelia Bedelia. "We don't want the seeds to fall off." They went into the house. Miss Emma was in the kitchen. "Let's walk around some," she said. "Show me what you've done." "All right," said Amelia Bedelia. They walked by the chicken pen. Oh, what are they going to find? "Land's sake," said Miss Emma. "What are those colored things?" "Scraps," said Amelia Bedelia. Those chickens did have fun. "My quilting pieces," said Miss Emma. "My good quilting pieces." "Did we use the wrong scraps?" said Amelia Bedelia. "Go get them, Effie Lou." Look at Miss Emma. But the chickens are having fun. Look, this one actually has one on as an outfit. Miss Emma walked to the garden. She stopped and stared. "Those weeds," she said. "Those big weeds." "We got the biggest we could find," said Amelia Bedelia. Miss Emma looked at Amelia Bedelia. "Thank goodness Sumter will be back soon," she said. "Why didn't you stake the beans?" "We did," said Amelia Bedelia. "There just wasn't much steak to give them." "Sure, Effie Lou." Effie Lou held up a bush. "There goes my dinner," said Miss Emma. Now remember, her garden club is coming later. She looked at the potatoes. "I see the bugs are dead," she said. "Dead?" said Amelia Bedelia. "Did we dust them too much?" "I'll get you some more." Miss Emma laughed and said, "I can live without them. You've done enough. We've enjoyed doing it," said Amelia Bedelia. "I've seen all I want to see," said Miss Emma. They all went inside. "The ladies should be here soon," said Miss Emma. "The table is set. The tea is made. You can put the cake on this tray." "All right," said Amelia Bedelia. "I'll let the ladies in," said Miss Emma. She left the kitchen. "Let's get the cakes ready," said Amelia Bedelia. "I hear the ladies coming now." So that was the tray that Miss Emma gave her. And then there's Amelia and Effie Lou. Soon Miss Emma called, "Amelia Bedelia, please bring the tea." "Coming," said Amelia Bedelia. "Bring the cakes, Effie Lou." Amelia Bedelia set the tea tray in front of Miss Emma. "Go ahead and pass the cake," said Miss Emma. Every lady took some cake. "I'm starved," said Miss Lee. "I can't wait for the tea." She bit into her cake. "Delicious," she said. "I've never tasted this kind before." "You've never tasted nut cake?" said Miss Mary. "This isn't nut cake," said Miss Lee. "Try the pink kind." "It is good," said Grandma Wilson. "Hand me another piece." "There," said Miss Emma. "Your tea is poured." "Who cares about tea?" said Miss Mark. "I want some more pink cake." "Emma, do tell us what kind of cake this is," said Miss Bloom. Miss Emma took some cake. "My favorite," she said, "nut cake." No, the pink kind, said Ella Jean. Try the pink kind. But all the pink cake was gone. Stop keeping secrets, said Grandma Wilson. What kind of cake was that? Ask Amelia Bedelia, said Miss Emma. She made it. A car horn honked outside. Mr. Rogers, said Amelia Bedelia. Come on, Effie Lou. Look, there's the cake pan, all empty. Miss Emma followed Amelia Bedelia to the kitchen. What kind of cake was the pink one? She asked. Amelia Bedelia looked puzzled. Tea cake, she said. That's what you said to make. Tea? You mean, said Miss Emma. She began to laugh. Amelia Bedelia saw something. Oh, I plumb forgot, she said. Your grass seeds. Miss Emma looked at them. She laughed harder and put them around her neck. Amelia Bedelia, she said, you are really something. Effie Lou, you are lucky to have Amelia Bedelia for an aunt. I know, said Effie Lou. Amelia Bedelia knows everything. The horn honked again. Hurry, Effie Lou, said Amelia Bedelia. We can't keep Mr. Rogers waiting. The end. You see a chicken with the scraps? I hope that you enjoyed Amelia Bedelia today, and I will see you again next week. I'm going to take a break this weekend so I can work on my garden and make sure that there's no weeds in my garden. And I have to make sure that my girls are taking care of their chickens. And so, seriously, some days I feel like our house could have a Amelia Bedelia here. So I love you, and I have enjoyed reading to you this week. And I hope that you have learned a lot. And I will see you again next week. Bye.